Hey there, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. This is Raphael Garcia on Wednesday, February 6th, 2019, and we're back with Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast, episode 11. And I want to say, first and foremost, say thank you for listening to our content today. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here at MMAratings.net, where we mostly talk about mixed martial arts, but we're also branching off into the world of professional wrestling. So you can catch my show here every Wednesday, and on Thursdays we do our podcast covering our weekly podcast covering mixed martial arts with myself and Shawan Hume. So please be sure to check out that content as well. And as always, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at MMARatingsNet, where you'll find all of our content there from myself, Shawan Humes, Adam Martin, and some of our other writers. And me, myself, you can follow me at rgarcia_sports, where I'm talking about everything from professional wrestling to politics to football to basketball, etc., etc. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into today's show because I want to talk about All Elite Wrestling and where that promotion is headed. Even though they've had absolutely as many shows as I've had, AEW has put on as many shows as I've had professional wrestling matches, which is absolutely zero. But I still think that the excitement around AEW is absolutely fantastic. And I'm loving what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. The professional wrestling business needed this. It's clear that there was a level of stagnation that had grown within the industry, and we've been talking about this for an extended period of time. We see that within the WWE, their content has become rather stale over the last few years. They've gotten complacent because they haven't faced off with a clear number two challenger like they had back during the Monday Night Wars, during the height of that time when they were losing to WCW. No one else has been able to really become a challenge to them in the North American wrestling market. And while it's still early to say that AEW will be that challenge, it's still already kicked off a level of excitement that people are looking forward to seeing in the coming months to years. And then that is what gets me excited because this is an opportunity for fans, this is an opportunity for wrestlers, this is an opportunity for writers, for everyone that's involved to get something different out of professional wrestling and move into a new opportunity that can lead to more money, more chances to make it big, more chances just to do things differently, which I think is important in professional wrestling, and it's important in competition as a whole because as I've always said, competition breeds better performance. And imagine if we lived in a world where it wasn't competition for anything, it was just one group for whatever it was we were looking to purchase, that things wouldn't be as high quality as they are today. So with that said, I am pleased with having AEW and having that promotion headed our way. But that doesn't mean that everything is 110% hunky dory. And I want to talk about some topics and some conversations I've been seeing over the last few days in reference to AEW that kind of has me thinking. This is the promotion that's run by Cody and the Young Bucks, as I think they're the VPs of the organization. Tony Khan, who is the son of the Khan, I can't remember his father's name, who owns Fulham FC and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are the backers of this organization. So they have the placement to make a lot of waves when it comes to signing new talent. There's already speculation that anytime anyone is being speculated as leaving the WWE, the AEW already pops up. I mean, you see that with Hideo Itami, you see that with Dean Ambrose. News broke earlier this week that the Usos and Randy Orton both have not signed new deals. So there's already those conversations. Oh my God, are they going to AEW, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not neither here nor there. That's not what we're going to talk about on this show here. Instead, I want to talk about the idea of diversity when it does come to AEW because I see something rather intriguing happening. And like for example, this week, Jimmy Havoc was announced as a new signee for the organization. And what's caught my eye is that this is yet another white male that is being brought onto the organization. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that there we may be headed for a situation where AEW has a real diversity issue. I think they have 16 names that are assigned to the organization. Yes, 16 names that are currently signed to the organization and from a talent standpoint. And right now, Brandy Rhodes and Scorpio Sky are the two minorities on the roster. Now they've also mentioned that they're working on a partnership deal with OWE, which is an Asian wrestling promotion that will send in talent, which is definitely of a minority group when you look at the United States or in the North American wrestling market. So there is that, but you have to wonder about what efforts are being made, or are they even listening to the questions that are being posed about the lack of diversity that we see on this roster. I've spoken and written about diversity in professional wrestling extensively, especially over these last few months to this last year. It seems like, because there continues to be different situations that just catch my eye and make me want to raise my hand and say, "Hey, what's really going on here?" But it seems to be a situation where it's almost difficult to challenge in professional wrestling. It's difficult to talk about diversity in professional wrestling because we are already aware of what demographic, who are, or what is the main target demographic for professional wrestling. That target audience is the white male, 18 to 34 group. And you see that in many different ways. You see that with individuals that are promoted to star positions, especially with the way women are promoted and marketed in the organization, the women that are chosen to be promoted and marketed by, and right now I'm speaking specifically about WWE and how they are marketed. You can tell what demographic that group is reaching out to and what demographic that group is trying to entice. But with AEW, they are talking about themselves as if they truly are trying to be an alternative to what's going on in the WWE. And that is a fantastic stance to take. That's something that everyone wants to see. But the question then continues, can they really be an alternative to the WWE if we are already seeing some of the same issues pop up? And I'm not saying issues overall. This is just the first one that's kind of came to my mind because it's something I've been thinking about from jump when the organization started coming together. AEW, they have an event on Friday in Las Vegas where they're expected to announce new members of its roster. I think people are expecting Kenny Omega to be announced, or they're hoping for Kenny Omega to be announced. We don't know. But I wonder if they are going to begin to bring in more minority wrestlers on this group. And even as I sit here and think about it, I mean, there are plenty that are out there in the industry. They may not be big names, but they're names that people are interested in and people are willing to see. I'm not sure how many of individuals who listen to the show follow an Instagram account that is called, I'm pulling it up, Black Wrestling Alliance, where they frequently talk about a lot of the black men and women that are not only on the big scenes within professional wrestling, but also on the more minor scenes, which helps bring to light some of these individuals that you may not know. I think it's pretty intriguing. I think it's pretty intriguing to see some of these individuals featured, and it causes me to have an interest in some of them and say, hey, who is this person? Who is this guy? Who is this woman? It makes me look into them as wrestlers. So you have to wonder if AEW is going to leverage and bring in some of those talented men and women, because there is space there. And that's something I would like to see. I would love to see a situation where we have more black men and women being featured across the spectrum of the sport. Just because right now there isn't much space there. It doesn't seem to be much space there. It definitely doesn't seem to be much space within the WWE. So that's probably one of the bigger stories I'm looking forward to with with AEW, because it definitely stands out to me, Ben. It's interesting on how this topic of diversity seeps into professional wrestling when we are talking about all elite. Either yesterday or today, I read a piece from and that featured a quote from Shane Helms about how the promotion may be headed for a diversity issue, but he was talking about it from a different standpoint. He was talking about the roster and the way that the group performs, and this is his quote here: "A lot of the talent that they have right now, they kind of wrestle a similar style. That's the only negative I see, and that's not even really a negative if that style is working for them. For me, the best wrestling companies have always presented a variety of things, a variety of styles, but that's going to be small. They'll figure that out. They've got the guys there that will figure it out. It's too early to say what any negatives might be, but it's not going to come from a talent standpoint for sure, because those are guys. They all respect the game. It's not going to be a buddy system. You're going to have to be able to carry your load with these guys." But what he was talking about, and Helms is someone who was sought after by AEW as well, but he actually just signed a deal to become a producer within the WWE, which I think is fantastic because I love his mind from a professional wrestling standpoint. But what he was talking about was how the lack of diversity on the AEW roster could impact the way that the group works together. And I think that he's right. But what I also think that it points at is that how that lack of diversity will create an issue, will start an issue, or has the potential to start an issue from a creative standpoint. I was having a conversation in the workplace the other day about an agency that we brought in to do videography for my team, and they are a organization that is very that is not diverse in any way, shape, or form. And we were having an issue with them coming up with original content and coming up with different ways to look at this story. And I pointed out the fact that part of it is because they don't have diversity on their team. A lack of diversity creates a void of new ideas, creates a void of new ways to look at things, of new ways to see things. If you have a roster of professional wrestlers that all look the same, all perform the same, all like the same things, all like the same styles, all like the same moves, that brand of wrestling is not going to be as enticing as something that as a promotion that features a lot of different talent from a lot of different places of the world, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different languages. That's one of the things that makes like the Best of the Super Juniors stands out to me, when they have not only wrestlers from New Japan, but they have some from America, they have some from Mexico, they have some from other areas in the world, that allows these groups to showcase their ability to wrestle. And that's what stands out to me. And you have to wonder if AEW is going to go down that same route, because they don't have the names right now. Again, it's only 16 people. It's a very small roster right now, but you have to wonder, who are they looking at from a long-term standpoint to say, hey, we want to bring in this individual, we want to bring in that individual, and do those individuals represent a diverse background, and is the promotion invested in diversity in that sake? You know, we know that they're invested in original content when it comes to wrestling. Like All In was totally, it was original. It was different from what we see on WWE week in and week out, which is a part of the reason why I think so many people were excited about it. We see their content, whether it be Being the Elite or other pieces of work that is just different and is exciting to people. But this is a major hurdle that I think is going to be interesting to watch and see how they jump over it. Will they jump over it? We don't know. I believe that they have the minds to jump over it with Cody, the Young Bucks, the Khan family, and everyone that you're bringing in, especially Jericho and other minds who are keen on what can be successful in professional wrestling. I think that's important, and I do hope that they get over it, because like I said, I'm going to watch professional wrestling. I'm going to watch AEW. There are people who are pushing for conversations about that they need to have intergender wrestling, or they're not going to watch. They need to feature women's wrestling or they're not going to watch. I mean, I my views may be different on both of those topics. I mean, I'm definitely into women's wrestling, intergender wrestling. I've never really kind of been a big fan of it. That doesn't mean my mind can be changed. But all of those possibilities require diversity in not only their talent, but in the individuals that are making the decisions behind the scenes. And when it comes to making decisions behind the scenes, there was another aspect of this conversation that also came up this week that I thought was intriguing. There was a report that came out over the weekend, and this came from a quote by Dave Meltzer about AEW using data and data analytics to measure who's successful and who's not from a professional wrestling standpoint, to measure what the fans like and what the fans want to see. And I think that this is interesting because the reason why Meltzer was talking about this is because the Khan family, which as I mentioned, they are a sports family. They own two sports teams. They have other sports investments. They leverage data analytics to help them make personnel decisions, which I think is fantastic. And every time I think about this, I think about the movie Moneyball, which is where the Oakland A's use data analytics. This is kind of like the first entry into using data analytics in sports to kind of build a team in a time where money was tight. And it'll be interesting to see how AEW does that. We've seen New Japan and WWE use surveys to kind of measure what fans like and what fans do not like. So it'll be interesting to see how AEW uses that and other data tactics to kind of build the catalog of what's important to professional wrestling fans. As someone who works in marketing and who works with data on a regular basis, it can be a very powerful tool in helping you understand what is important to your target audience. So there is a pretty big space to kind of see how they get that information over. But what's important to me is who are they talking to? And I wrote about this for Daily DDT this week. You can go to dailyddt.com. Is that the website name? You can go to dailyddt.com to read about it. But I posed a question. Who are they talking to? Will AEW look into just their target audience to figure out what they like as professional wrestling fans? Or are they going to be willing to go beyond that and reach out to the African American community, reach out to the Asian American community, and reach out to the LGBTQ community, all of which have professional wrestling fans in it? Professional wrestling is not an industry that's dominated just by, or is just from a fan standpoint where only white men watch it. There are fans across the spectrum, just as there are comic book fans across the spectrum, movie fans across the spectrum, music fans across the spectrum. There are so many different types of people that watch and enjoy professional wrestling that we need to take a minute and say, hey, let's make sure, or let's hope that AEW is getting all of their voices into the equation when it comes to what's going on with this sport, or with this industry. And why I think this is important is because, again, you do not want to just focus on one group. I do not think that that's the right way to go. I think that this promotion needs to not only focus on the hardcore fan, but also on the mainstream fan. And I use that in air quotes because I know everybody doesn't like that term, but also focus on the mainstream fan, because those are the individuals that help get promotions over their hurdle into success. That's why you see people like Ronda Rousey getting pushed to the moon. That's why you see people like Alexa Bliss always getting pushed to the moon. Big competitors like Braun Strowman, et cetera, people, and you don't see like the smaller Kyle O'Reillys or Adam Coles or Samoa Joes getting pushed to the moon. This is totally different. They attract a different type of fan. So I wonder who AEW is going to reach out to and what voices are going to have the loudest impact. We see what the quote unquote social media mob, how impactful that group is when it comes to conversations on social media, because they blow conversations up and out of control just based on mob mentality and what is popular and what's not. So that is going to be an intriguing part of it to see who exactly are they reaching out to, who are they leveraging, who are they speaking to, in order to help determine what is considered successful or not when AEW finally does give us content that we can enjoy. Because I think it'll be a mistake if this is opportunity is missed, if this opportunity isn't seized to finally speak to people across the board about what they enjoy about professional wrestling, because I think there's a space there, and I think that there's an opportunity to be more inclusive at a time where the demographic behind professional wrestling hasn't been as inclusive. You see the same thing in mixed martial arts. There's an opportunity there that I believe is missed when it comes to being more inclusive with their fan base. And I hope that AEW doesn't make the same type of mistake. This is not a question as simple as someone being offended or some other quote unquote social justice warrior type conversation. This is a real thing about making professional wrestling inclusive enough that more people can be interested, that more people can be intrigued to watch, that more people can spend their money on the product, which is always kind of the bottom line, and that's the end of the deal there. So with that in mind, I wanted to go ahead and bring this episode to a close. We're keeping these episodes between 20 and 30 minutes for right now, just to kind of build, just to have the conversation and get the content out there and go. I am planning a longer interview series, which will be once a month occurrence. The first of which I am trying to book a former WWE writer to come onto the show. He's a friend of mine, and we'll have a pretty interesting conversation if we can schedule that for this month. But there'll be one per month. So to stay up to date on what we're doing here, be sure to like and share our content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can go over to MMAratings.net to catch what we write, catch what we produce there. Give me a follow at R Garcia Sports. You can always kind of stay up to date on what I'm doing and what I'm working on within that space there. And with that in mind, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you again for listening to us on this Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully you get over this hump day safely. Have a great day, everyone.